Hey, how you doing, people? I'm Nick Sagar, and I'm this week's Man of the Hour. And yeah, you know what? We talk a whole load of stuff, some great stuff, about growing up, ethnicity, fitting in, but just come kick it with me.
You know how easy this is? All I had to do was hit record.
Technology, baby.
How many people have messed up your last name? Sagar?
It's actually pronounced two different ways. Sagar is how English people had been pronouncing English-speaking people, but it's of Indian origin and it's Saga. But we just grew up
Yeah.
said Sagar, so it was just kind of like, hey, and then my friends in school would always go, Sagar. I kind of stuck.
Nick, you've lived a life already, dude. Born and raised in London, right? Your parents aren't even from the freaking country.
Nope.
We're gonna do all of it. You know why I'm excited to bring you on the show? You have an accent that I think people are just gonna be like, oh, great, I got 30 minutes with this. Because we're right now, as I'm speaking to you, and as we're about to kick off this incredible conversation, we're in people's ears. That's what podcasts are. How does that make you feel? Like people are just going to listen to your voice for the next 30 minutes, bro.
Way to put the pressure on, man.
So
That's a
just be
lot of time.
careful what you say.
Yeah,
So, listen,
that's a lot of time to be listening to me mumble, man.
dude, how have things been for you? You're about to come to New York for a premiere, which probably hasn't been a thing for like the last year.
Yeah, it's almost feels new, which is it's wonderful. It is really nice to be able to get out and do these things because these are like the nice celebratory moments after something's been completed, when everyone can come together and just look at the piece of art. So
Isn't that
something
nice?
that is able to happen, especially
Yeah,
after the last year, and it makes it a little extra special.
I think it will be. You're coming to my neck of the woods. You're coming to New York City for this premiere.
I love New York.
We love New York. Your background's New York on the Zoom call. Anybody tuning in right now, you can't see it, but if you go to YouTube, you can find it.
On the
And
stoop, chilling.
Stoop. I love it, dude. Nick, have you always wanted to be an actor, man? I wanted to save that question. I was going to go do some research. And I was like, screw it. I'm going to get this guy on for 30 minutes. Have you always wanted to be an actor? Like people love you now. Everybody thinks you're good looking. You're plastered all over social media. We love seeing you with your shirt off, apparently. I mean, listen, your fans love you, dude. But have you always wanted to do this?
Um, I was heavy into sports when I was younger. I wanted to be a football player, soccer, as they say over here. But that was my thing up until what are we talking? Maybe about 14, 15. And then after just doing it for so long, I just kind of grew tired and I went into street dancing and b-boying and popping and locking and stuff. And I always did acting as like just something fun. To be honest, I never knew it was a career opportunity growing up, just because I felt like growing up, we would look to see representations of ourselves everywhere. And as far as television wise, I didn't see nobody that looked like me.
Was that because you were in London?
No, even we got so much American culture, and then even though America was ahead of the times with some of their black leads back in the day, you had the Will Smiths, the Wesley Snipes, and those types, but I just never saw. I don't know. It was weird. It was kind of like this mentality of, oh, they must have had not lucky, but they must have had something. It was like, whoa, that's way too far off for it to happen to someone like me. I don't see no one who looks like me on TV. And that was honestly why I was like, oh, I love this, but maybe it's just for fun. And it wasn't until studying in university and I didn't really dig the course. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to need to do something that I love to pursue as a career. And I was just like, let's try acting. But by then, at that age, I'd grown a bit older and realized, you know what, it's up to you to make it whatever you want to make it. Doesn't matter if no one else has done it before. There's always a first of everything. So
Yeah. I want to be, yeah, I'm the same way, dude. Us mixed race babies got a prized possession for a future. I was like, oh, I'm gonna be that Japanese American little podcast host that's got a bald head. You know what I mean? It's called trailblazing, brother. You have trailblazed already. I think now, it's so cool. People can look at you and say, I see someone that looks like me, for all those mixed race, half black and half white people out there. We've seen it, but it's hard to tell. You brought up a good point, which is like representation, but also the fact that you might not have seen someone that looked like you, but but then also you're so unique, I think, in how you look. And it's probably because you're a mixed race person. I'd say the same about anybody who has any blend of races. It's interesting because you do grow up and you're like, oh, mainstream media doesn't necessarily portray mixed races all the time until you find out that they're mixed, right? But now you get to represent that. More on how you look, though. I think, we talked about this right before we hit the record button, but ambiguity is a huge thing with just looking like Nick Sagar, right? It's not like you look like you, but has growing up and then especially playing roles now, how has that kind of played into this great career that I see for you?
Oh, thank you, man. Just yeah, growing up, I kind of so heritage-wise, I'd be black and Indian considered, even though both of my parents are Caribbean.
Mm-hmm.
One is from Guyana, my dad, which is like weird. It's kind of like West Indies, but it's still South America, but they're
Yeah.
Indian origin. So it was, I definitely in school I just resonated with nearly everyone, man. Like, because I'd hang out with my black friends, I'd hang out with my Indian friends, I'd hang out
Yeah.
with white friends, and I never really. I'd say we grew up more being Caribbean and my mum being Jamaican. We grew up more on the black side of the culture. And then it wasn't till I was still friends and mixed with everyone just because it
Yeah.
was, there was just this, I just got along with them. But it wasn't till I got a little older and really started to delve into my roots and be proud of these other things that make me who I am,
Mm-hmm.
being the Indian side and all of these things where I was like, wow, there's way more. I think when you're younger, you're just more desperate to fit in.
Oh yeah.
It was, even though I was still aware of these things that make me who I am, I was more like, oh, my black friends have accepted me.
Yeah, of course.
That's what I am. I'm gonna be over here. And it wasn't until I got a little bit older, it was kind of like, okay, there's these other parts to me as well that are like, prevalent and I love them too. Going into the career, I always knew, I was like, man, once I get a chance, I can play nearly everything, like a mix of, if I change my hair or my beard, it's like some of my friends joking, like, yo, you literally changed races. I was like, man, this is going to be so beneficial once I get to that level.
Mm.
But breaking in was incredibly hard. Having that, I would get in these rooms and I'd go out for African American. They'd be like, you don't look full African American, or you don't look.
Oh.
I'd go out for black, and they'd be like, you don't look full black. Or I'd go out for Indian. They're like, you don't look full Indian or Latino, and they're like, you don't look full. So at first, it was really hard getting placed in some of these roles.
Mm.
And then recently, with this open inclusion and diversity and stuff, they're open now to less being more like, oh, you don't look, because what really is, there's so many variations of every race. Even if someone's full black, there's
It's
still,
hard to tell. Yeah.
it really is. So now that we're coming into more of these mixes and they're more open, I'm definitely excited for some of the stuff in the future, because I'm so interested in variety. Like I
Yeah.
really grow up and around all these different races, and my friends I was lucky, we was in a melting pot. Like there was everyone there.
Mm.
I would look, man, I'd imitate my friends and be like, oh, I play you, I play you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really.
You're going to have options now, Nick. That's exciting. You bring up an incredible point, which is that I think the industry of casting is starting to take away the race card, which is nice because it's not like you have to walk into a room now. And I'm sure they're not like, you're going for a black character. No, you're going for the character of John, who happens to be a little darker skinned. And so long that you can kind of fit that. And then have you seen that where maybe casting directors or people in the movies and shows or in that I guess in the world of casting pretty much are taking away the race when casting? Say if you are a good fit, but they just like, all right, he doesn't have to be white. We're gonna make him Nick.
Yeah, yeah. No, I've seen a lot more of that too, of they're just open to someone just embodying the role, which is
Yeah,
really refreshing.
I love it. I want to talk about your identity more
Yeah.
because this is you. You're the man of the hour, man of the half hour, whatever time we got with you, do is what you are. You ever faced identity crisis by chance? being in the world of like, I mean, not just Hollywood, but anytime your face is out there for people to just look at and watch, do you ever feel like you're having to kind of play that part of your life up, or how do you challenge identity crisis if it's ever entered your life?
Mm, I don't know if it's. I'd say I had an identity. I got to thank my parents. They very much were grounded in their roots. Both of them, they were both strongly into their cultures too. So they both represented and made sure we was proud of that. And they were just very good at making us feel proud of being mixed. Because, even for them, I remember realizing only a couple years ago, I was like, wow, my experience is completely different from my parents. Because, my dad is full Guyanese, my mom is full Jamaican, even though prime example with my mum and her sisters and brothers, the complexions amongst them is it's vast.
Yeah.
My mum's quite fair skinned, and some of my aunties are a bit, and uncles are darker skinned, and this is with the same parents. But I realized I was like, wow, I have a completely different experience to what my parents do because I'm mixed. But I think it was because of their teachings. I was always proud to be, I always saw it as like the best of all these worlds, man.
Best of both worlds.
Yeah, and I was kind of like, I
Yeah.
always like, man, both of these all of
Yeah.
these coaches are great, and I get to be like, hey, I'm part of this too. It's just like,
You bet.
wow.
You'd be surprised, Nick, at how many people don't look at it that way. We've brought Happas on the show, like me, half Asians. We just had Mason on the show, Mason Temple. Uh, and a lot of people were not raised with, not that they weren't raised with that mindset, but they unfortunately weren't able to look at it that way, for example. They thought that they thought they were only getting 50% of both worlds. Whereas like your parents, my parents did the same. You're 100% Japanese, you're 100% American, similar to you, 100% black, 100% Indian. And I think that's a beautiful thing to like know going into like your teenage and adult life,
Yeah,
which
you
is
know,
insane.
I was, like I said, I was very grateful, especially for the teachings my parents and those put in, because I felt like I was at an advantage. I really did
I
feel like
would think so.
I really thought, because I mean, my mom's got Scottish way back down the line, and my dad is Portuguese somewhere there. And I'm sure if I did one of those tests, it would just,
Be all down the lines of everything.
yeah. So for me, I was like, this is great, man. I get along with everyone. I'm like, when I'd go to a friend and they'll introduce me to their culture or stuff from their culture, I would be like, oh, maybe there's a part of me that's like, I can accept this even more. So
Yeah.
really lucky to take it as an advantage.
I think we grew up very similarly in that regards. Do you consider yourself an introvert or an extrovert?
Introvert if I'm new to meeting people. But like my friends who I've known for a very long time, I'd say I have the extrovert. It's a blend of both.
I
But
would
when
say
we kind of,
best of both worlds for that too.
yeah. I mean, I was like this with even with I suppose it's kind of like my philosophy for life too. Because
Yeah.
I remember even when it came to computer consoles, my friends would say to me, "Are you gonna get Xbox? You're gonna get PlayStation?"
Get both.
I was like, "I'm gonna get all of them. I'm gonna get, I'm gonna get PlayStation. I'm gonna get Nintendo if I can. Like why
Why
limit
limit?
one? I'm like, I might as well, play with them all."
There's no reason not to have all of it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good thought process to have. I ask you that because I mean, you said you ran in different circles as you were growing up with all types of people. I think we're very lucky that we were able to do that. But now that like you are in more of a light for a lot of people to be seeing you, and I'm sure everybody wants to be your friend. I'm sure everybody wants to hang out in your social circle. How do you manage that? Are you keeping a tight circle of friends as you're continuing your career as like a celebrity actor for now, um, or are you just open to meeting anybody and everybody?
Nah, yeah, I mean, if I meet someone and we click and we resonate, that's it for me. There, that's connection, that's friendship. All right, we're gonna hang, we're gonna chill. But I've always been, even growing up in my neighborhood, we've been there a long time. My older brother grew up in the neighborhood, so we was always kind of known.
Yeah.
We all went to the same school, so there was that growing up, knowing pretty much everyone around. I've always kind of been like friendly with everyone, but I enjoy my private time. I definitely need my my alone time, and
Yeah.
I enjoy just nights at home chilling, man. That's some of my favorite times.
Really?
Yeah,
I
and
could have.
usually like some of the ideal times for me would just be invite one or two friends over and chill.
Yeah.
I love that. Maybe it's because of how we grew up. There was less opportunities when we was younger because I mean, family. We went through both good and bad times, but during the bad times when you couldn't really go out and hit cinemas and bars and all that stuff, we just chill. We'd kick it on the corner and just a few of us. And like, I noticed, I was like, man, so long as the company's good, nothing else matters.
I was just going to say that as long as the company's there and that's kind of what you're invested in, you don't really have to do too much. I've been telling a lot of people that I'm around socially that there's, um, I want to do experiences with them. And if being at your home and hanging out with you is the experience, by all means, let's do that. Because
Yeah,
it's only so many dinners and drinks that you can go to and just like sit at a table together, which is fine, but how can you turn that into like a creative experience socially? You know what I mean?
yeah. I remember some friends, man. We wouldn't have to go nowhere. I'm like, this
That's
person has me laughing, has me just in stitches, doing nothing,
doing nothing.
doing nothing. Like some
That's
of the
how it used to be back in the day.
I mean, some of the best times were like doing
I
nothing.
know. Do you
There was-
think we're overcomplicating life?
um,
Let me break that down. Do you think we are by having so many options for social life and outings and social media makes you feel like you're seeing everybody do all these crazy cool things and you want to do all these crazy cool things? What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's all part of this. I feel like it's all part of this human experience of balance.
Yeah.
We come from that era of growing up in the late 80s, early 90s, where you'd have to wait a year for a VHS to come out to see your favorite movie. And I remember being a kid, being like, I just wish this would come out quicker.
Yeah.
Can we get this stuff quicker? And then now we're at a stage where we're getting everything quicker. And we've had,
Yeah.
I feel like we've had to shift to this side of the scale to appreciate the middle of like, I think choice is amazing. And I think having all of these outlets are, but it you can get lost in it. It can become a distraction. And I think a
Mm,
fine balance of, you know, being able to wait for some stuff and not be in a rush
yeah.
is it's mixed. I just think balance is one of my favorite things in regards to how I try to live my life.
Mm.
So there's times for there's good times for both of these things, but keeping it balanced is a wonderful, wonderful place to be.
How does Nick Sagar stop himself from getting distracted with too many options?
I remain grounded in what I know I love, the people around me. So for sure, family and friends. But then I just know there's stuff that just resonates with me. Just
Mm.
I just have such a passion to explore them and like martial arts, for example,
Yep.
or sports or music, or spending time with family and friends. They fill me with so much joy that if I haven't done enough of it, I'm like, okay, I need to get back to what I love.
Yeah. That's great to hear. You know why that's great to hear? Because I think a lot of people love oversaturating their life with a bunch of bullshit. And I'm like, you don't need extra of everything else. Some of that stuff's just gravy. I mean, we did an episode with my friend Nick, and it's like, yeah, the rest is just gravy after you realize what you really love, like you said, and what you need. Everything else is a nicety, not a necessity, my dad usually says, and I could, because we're getting busy, dude. You're about to fly to New York for a premiere, and then after that you're probably going to go straight back to LA and start working on other projects. It's just a lot. Look at him taking a deep breath. He's like, yeah, oh my god, I can't. Are you get do you get over?
I
Huh?
didn't try to think about next week right now to try to get through the weekend.
I know. Wait, do you ever get overwhelmed?
um, yeah, no one would know. Maybe if you're really close to me, you might be like, all right, no,
You
I'm
just
pretty.
don't take me as someone who expresses like any form of negative energy.
Yeah, I really am not that guy. I
You
keep
know
it to
what?
it'd be to myself. I would maybe have moments on my own where which I
Uh,
think is good. It's part of balance too. Like good and bad emotions. You have to sit with them sometimes, know why they're there, not attached to them, and just look at them in a form of awareness.
mm,
helps you, be comfortable with them, and there's no way to escape that. There's
That's
no
very
way to
true.
escape negative emotion, especially with everything in the world we grow up in. Like you wake up and straight away we're being
Yeah.
fed from all angles. So I try not to. I've never been the person to put my if I'm feeling something negative, I may share it with some friends for some help or whatnot, but
Yeah.
I would never want to put that on someone else. I'm like, okay, it's something I can deal with. Emotions pass,
Mm.
get attached to it. But I've been very grateful and lucky just to be like, it's just something I can get through.
How did you get to this point though? I just keep thinking like I'm the same way. I don't want to project that type of negative energy to anybody. People are always like, how are you happy go lucky all the time? There's no way Justin Crawford is always this fucking happy. And I say, listen up. There's a way. If
Yeah,
there's a will, there's a way. But I've had to practice on that will and that way.
yeah,
Right.
no,
Similar to you.
yeah.
What's the journey been like to get to a point so comfortable now where you just like, no, I don't need to be negative to anybody. I don't need people to know that I'm going through something. I can handle it.
Yeah, I just think it's growing up a very strong, wonderful family base and friends, and just noticing in other people like how much just uplifting someone can mean, and how to yourself, the power of the energy from that of like, wow, like, they wasn't having a great day, but making them smile has completely changed the course of things. And my mum had some great sayings growing up, as Jamaicans do, but she used to, you either laugh or you cry. That one always stuck with me because we did have some tough situations growing up. My older brother suffered from sickle cell anemia really badly, and he still does. So he was in and out of hospital like countless times. He missed a lot of my birthdays because they would come in the winter, and that time would hit hard for him. And I remember as a kid just being so fearful of death, of losing loved ones, because we'd seen so much just from growing up and seeing my brother struggle with these things. And I got to an age where I was just tired of living in fear, man, and tired of letting
Oh
those
yeah.
emotions dictate, me and my mood, because it wasn't productive. And for me and myself, I wasn't in a good mindset. Not that I did it all the time, but I just noticed I was like, this is no place to live. You can be there for a while, but for me, this is no zone to live in. And I just tried to always look. Again, my parents were very good at looking at the silver linings and stuff to be gratitude. Gratitude,
Yeah.
really changed a lot. Did different. And then as I got older, I found things like meditation, which again has been absolutely wonderful. And that combined with gratitude is like, it really, really helps.
Next level.
Yeah.
Next level good shit, Nick Sagar.
The good, good.
Because you can just feel good. And it's okay to feel good. It's okay to feel like shit. But like coming out of that takes a lot of perspective and identity chasing after so long with the things that you've been through and such. And like you said with your brother, there's just like some things you cannot necessarily control, but it sure as hell can be controlled somehow after you take so much time in practice.
Yeah.
You know, what sports are you playing now?
Well, now it's just mostly martial arts. I mean, the stuff I used to play some football, some soccer on the weekends, but with everything being kind of closed down,
Martial arts? Are you gonna kick my ass after the Zoom call? He's gonna be like,
I,
yeah, get it.
yeah, I just do it for the movies, man. I just do it to look good. Them guys who fight on UFC and that, I'm like,
Oh,
that's a
that's actually crazy. That's like next level. Whoa,
whole different beast. My one is just, I love it for a
staying in
workout.
shape and all.
Yeah, I do spar and I do train, in a fight circumstance. But I grew up watching Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, Van Damme, Wesley Snipes, Steven Seagal, all of those martial artists. And I loved it, man. The Kung Fu movies from the 70s
Oh
and
yeah,
the 36 Chambers. And my uncle had all of this stuff that he would watch. And I was just fascinated with what they would do, their moves. And as I got into it, I was like, I just want to train just so I could, continue on some of the wonderful legacy that these people have left off.
look at him. Look at your smile, dude. She's just like smiling as you're talking about all this stuff. It's good energy.
I
You know what I
appreciate
say? Have you ever heard the term? You're gonna hate me for saying this. I heard it in the gym earlier. I was working out with my buddy, and he was like, "You ever heard of big dick energy?" And I was like, "No, what is that?" And he's like, It's literally when you just feel like you're on top of the world, bro." So that's I'm not saying big dick energy is what I'm feeling. I'm just saying like when you have good energy, you can project that anywhere, man. And that's a sweet spot. It's a super sweet.
Oh man, jokes are flying in right now. I'm like, all right, let's start.
It's because we're sitting on your New York City stoop on this
Yeah,
Zoom call. You got to
just
talk about big dick energy if you're sitting on a stoop in New York, dude. What
just
are you most excited about for the rest of this year, man? We're in May.
I'm excited for the release of Run the World.
Oh, I can't wait, dude.
See, how, because during when we was filming it, I was like, they're onto something here. It's an incredible story for Black, powerful female leads who are just, man, they are hilarious. They're heartfelt. They're fantastic. Honestly, they do an amazing job. I'm just grateful to be a part of it, honestly, and I can't wait to see the impact it has because it's a story it's relevant, man. I've got
Yeah.
aunties who've been living this life forever, but it doesn't get portrayed as much, and I feel like we need to see this sometimes. Like we were saying earlier about when I was growing up, not seeing those represented made me think when I was choosing a career path, my line of vision was like this just because I hadn't seen other people do these things. And now when I
Mm,
see stuff and I see how open it is, it just makes you think, oh, well, I can do that too, which I think,
yeah.
the younger generation have, I, I love trying to fill them with motivation or
Yeah.
give them something to look to because I feel like people like Will Smith's, Denzel's growing up, they gave Bruce Lee's, they
Yeah.
gave up that. So for me, being able to come into this wonderful industry and have that platform, I'm like, I just want to tell the younger generation, man, like dream big for real and go after it because it happens. Because I honestly, where I was from is a small town in East London, Forest Gate, and I remember watching this stuff and like really wanting to be a part of it. And a lot of the time that stopped me, I was just like, I'm from Forest Gate. It just doesn't happen to people where I'm from. And
Sure.
it wasn't until a mindset shift where I was like, well, I can't remember what I was watching, man. I was watching it was a rapper, or some rappers. And I was like, well, these guys are from a similar place and they had to think to
Hmm.
themselves, you know, they just had to believe in themselves because I'm sure they would have thought, I'm from here, I'm from this disadvantaged circle, it's never going to happen. And I thought it's the same thing for me. No matter what career path you choose, it
That's
starts
right.
with belief. You have to believe, that I can do this, I can break into this, or I can become that. And that shifted a whole lot for me because it took 10 years. I've moved here 12 years ago, probably been pursuing this professionally for about 15, 14. But it took 10 years to really get something where I'm like, I'm living off this. But when I initially went into it, there still wasn't many who looked, similar to myself. But I was just like, you know what, I gotta give this a shot, man, because it makes me happy.
That's it.
Yeah.
You're so cool, dude. I can't wait to see you soon.
Appreciate you, brother, man.
Thanks for
Honestly.
coming on the pod through
Thanks
your
for having me. Come on, man.
what
It's
a
a pleasure,
co-
man. Like I'm like, yo, someone wants to hear me talk. I'm like, usually I'm just blabbering off my friend's ears. So I'm like, people actually
shut
want to
up,
hear.
dude. You just brought it to the show, and I'm so grateful for you. Good luck with the premiere, man. I think there's so much there. I'm excited to see where your career continues to go. As long as you love it, I love it for you. You know what I mean? Keeps you smiling, keeps everybody watching you smiling.
I appreciate that, man. Honestly, man, it does. It honestly means a lot, man. Because like I said, I'm very grateful, and I thoroughly enjoy what I do. So when I meet people who, genuinely share that interest or like some of the stuff or work that I've done, I get excited myself, man. I really do. Like the few people that have approached me in places and been like, "Hey, I love this show." I'm like, man, like I remember being that kid who watched you know, my favorite show. And if I would have got to see them, I'd be like, yo, you changed my life. You know, you gave me something that gave me joy in a time of darkness. You gave me something to escape. You gave me something to laugh, to share. Like, that's powerful. So to
Boom.
be on that, yeah, to be able to reciprocate that is incredibly grateful.
You're so cool, man. We're gonna go find you on Instagram. I'm gonna let people jump off the pod. We're gonna end a nice podcast with you, buddy. Nick Sagar, everybody. You can find him on Instagram. Your social handle is pretty much your name.
Yeah.
And dude, we're gonna keep up with you. We're gonna keep watching you do incredible things and watching you keep smiling. Keep your friends and family close, buddy. But thanks again. Look at him laughing. You're probably thinking of Big Dick Energy is what I'm thinking about.
The sweet spot, cuz. The sweet spot. That's what it is.
Nick, dude, keep smiling. Thanks again.
I will, and you likewise, Justin. You to yourself too, man.